Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where we're about to unveil the top 4 TV casts that created on-screen magic and unforgettable chemistry.
Get ready to dive into the world of television's finest ensembles, where every character brought their A game to make the show truly special.
From hilarious sitcoms to gripping dramas, our list is a tribute to the cast that made us laugh, cry, and believe in the power of storytelling.
Grab your remote, subscribe to the channel, and prepare to reminisce about the casts that truly became family as we unveil the top 4 best TV casts.
Get ready, because the Rushmore Show starts right now. Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more. Andy, it is October, and October means nothing more than television month. And we are steamrolling right through. We've had 2 fantastic episodes. We just got back from St. Tammany Collectors Con. Hats off to Ben and the fam. Thank you for inviting us there. And man, all the new people we met, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Summit Squad. Andy, what do we have in store for them today?
We've got a fun topic. We've got a fun guest, a first-time guest today, too. When we talk about TV, you know, one of the things we like bringing guests on because we like having a full crew of people here, right? It's boring if it's just 1 or 2 people. But if
I see where you're going.
We bring in some friends. So we figured, speaking of friends, we figured, hey, this week, let's give you our Rushmore of TV show casts, okay? And I'm not just talking like break a leg, like they got a cast. No, like the full, every actor, character that is in this show, what makes this show. Now, there's plenty of shows that have iconic casts. There's plenty of shows that have, you know, very few people in it. You know, we can go all over the place. We're kind of in different eras of time when we like TV. There's some crossover there too, but this should be a very interesting episode today. What you think about it?
I can tell you this, and kind of going through my list of shows, I think most of my shows today are brand new to this show.
Okay, that's
so cool. I'll just throw that out there. So if you've been here, don't go too far because you always think you might know what you have. I think I'm going a different direction today. All right, well, now it is time to get into our Rushmore of television casts. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Rushmore Show, it is time for our television cast, and I'm going to send it over to my favorite cast member, Andy, to let you guys know who our guest is on the show today.
Well, we're excited, like we said, bringing on a first-time guest, longtime friend, good. You know, he was a member in bands with me. We've brought Dennis on. We've brought Daniel Eller on. Hey, let's bring on another member that used to hang out in bands and all that kind of fun stuff with me. We're bringing on a good friend who actually is part of the St. Tammany Collectors Con and multiple other conventions too. Summit Squad, let's welcome to the show, David Finn. What is up, man?
What's up, Dave?
What's up?
Welcome, man. Look, we've been trying for a while to get you on. I know schedules and, you know, all kinds of craziness, raising families and doing all that stuff makes it difficult at times. But, man, we are glad you are here.
I'm glad to be here, man.
I like the shirt you're rocking, too, man. Look at him rocking the shirt, too.
It's a fantastic apparel.
I got this from a couple of dudes at St. Tammany's Collectors Con this past weekend.
Wow, you know what I mean? Look at it. Wow.
That?
So, first off, Dave, will you tell the crew here, tell the Summit Squad all about your booth, what you do there? And Andy, I think you need to let the Summit Squad know all about your famous purchase from this booth.
Yeah. We'll talk about that.
I have a love for everything's 90s, 80s. I got into doing this I mean, I've been doing it on a smaller level, just collecting things here and there, video games and toys and etc. Never thought that I would actually be in business doing it. And it came about like 2019, right before the pandemic. I had a huge inventory of stuff that I had just hoarded. And I saw that my first show actually was St. Tammany Collectors Con. My first one was there at the Casting Center, their first show at the Casting Center. And I talked to Ben. I knew Ben prior, and I hit him up and I was like, "Hey man, how do I get on?" And he gave me the information. I was like, "Look man, I got a bunch of stuff. I don't know how to do this." Anyway, I just piled the car full of stuff and got a booth. And that really sparked it in me to kind of like actually do it full time.
As Kirk alluded to, we've talked about it on the show plenty of times. We actually had an episode dedicated to the Nintendo 64. So at your booth this past April, when the first St. Tammany Collectors Con we did, I purchased a N64 from you, and I've now been on the venture of collecting games. So I'm
the bug now, man.
I'm at 20, 22 something games or so right now, which is nowhere. That's like not even tip of the iceberg of what they offer, but it's been a lot of fun, man. Some of the games, I was like, man, I remember this as a kid. I love it. And I plug it in there and I'm like, this game's horrible. Like,
yeah, awful.
But that's part of the fun, man. Just kind of reliving some of that, playing it with my oldest daughter, letting her try to figure out how to do that controller. That's one of the most fun parts. So that's been a total blast. So David, we are so glad you're on here today. Let's kind of move into our topic for today. So Kirk mentioned it's TV on. Specifically today, we're going to talk about TV casts. So before you start getting into your criteria, and then we get into our Rosie, let the people know, like, what draws you to TV? Why would you be interested in just hanging out and talking about TV casts on the Rushmore Show today?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, TV. For my picks anyway, TV molded me in a way of, while I was growing up watching, these families or friends or whatever it may have been, just camaraderie and the things that they would be doing.
Right.
It really did mold me. It I would even say, some of it taught me things. You know what I mean? Like it meant a lot to me, and with my picks, it's going to all go into that too. But yeah, TV and movies, but specifically TV. Yeah, I can remember vivid moments in television where I was like, wow, man, like I'm really connected to these people. You know what I mean?
I think TV, just before we get into criteria here in your picks, TV, it's easier to connect to characters because it's a longer, like a season, right? As opposed to if I'm going to sit down and watch like a 2-hour movie, I can get connected for sure to the characters, especially, in sagas and things like that. But I really only have a small window of time. Whereas if I spend years of my life watching a series, and specifically with casts like we have, like we're talking about today, man, you just get so emotionally connected. I like what you said, like it'll teach you things, like especially growing up with it. So I love that. We're all kind of in that same boat as far as why we love TV. So, but let's, Kirk, you ready to get started today with our list, man? So, David, you're our guest. We allow the guest to go first.
Be our guest.
So
yes, sir.
Let us know, before we give our Rosie, what was your criteria? What was your thought process? How did you, again, there's so many TV shows and series that we can think of. How did you narrow it down to 4?
So I went into this with kind of like a different mindset. So maybe I won't say this, but I'll say that I used the TV like shows and series that impacted me more so as a young kid up into my teens. So I used, that was kind of my criteria, just thinking about, like I said, TV moments and families and whatnot like that, of what impacted me. It's all going to be relatively 90s. So
there you go. And that's funny. We were talking about topics, throughout the week, and that was a topic that came up, and we switched it to casts, and you're still sticking with the 90s, which I love. That's awesome.
Stick with the 90s, man.
So Kirk is going to hit your 3-minute timer. Once that gets going, let us know. Let's start with our Rosie, our number 4. This is the line in the sand.
So my Rosie, I think, is going to be a surprise to a lot of people. I don't know if it made a whole lot of people's lists, but my Rosie is Home Improvement. I can remember this is one of the most vivid times I can remember actually sitting down as a family and watching a TV show. We did not miss Home Improvement. Like when it would air, I can't remember what day, but on that weekday, we would sit down and watch it. Now, we didn't stick through the whole seasons, every season, but I can remember this is one of the most vivid times that I can remember. And the cast itself, I think, going into what my criteria was. So the cast itself, watching the 3 sons, Randy, Mark, and Brad, and Brad, they were all 3 different personalities. So you had Brad, who was the jock, and you had Randy, which was Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Yeah, dude. You had him, who was more of like, the kind of the cool kid, or the preppy, I guess. And I can remember, and this one meant the most to me growing up, Mark, who you watched him change in the show. You watched him go from like this kind of nerdy, know-it-all kid, and he still was in the later seasons, but he started turning into this like gothic, wearing the band t-shirts and Jinko jeans and a steel ball necklace. Andy, I think I've seen you've owned a couple of those, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. So some of them trip pants, Hot Topic, fun stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, and with that too, I mean, and then also Wilson, next door neighbor, never saw a guy's face.
Howdy, neighbor.
Howdy ho, neighbor.
And howdy ho, Tim.
Yeah. That's a great, and obviously Tim Allen, Richard Karn,
Richard Karn,
was the
Richard Karn was the predecessor of Parks and Rec, man. I mean, like he's like the guy, bro. He's Mr. Everything.
Yeah.
But then he went on to be the Family Feud. But Tim Allen, Buzz Lightyear, Tim Allen's had a fantastic career, except for when he's always in the news about being heavy right winged. Right, but he's he was a pretty awful fellow before show business. I mean, he was in jail. He had a lot of. He was an addict and whatever.
Smuggler, I think. Wasn't he a drug smuggler?
Debbie Dunning, the Tool girl. I mean, bro, that's one of the reasons I wanted to watch in the '90s.
Yeah, Pam Anderson, dude.
Yeah,
that's where she got her start.
Yep.
Yeah. Shoot. Yeah. I mean, great pick. Home Improvement was not on my radar, but I love this show. I actually had it pegged when I was doing sitcoms.
Great way to start our mountain. Kirk, we're going to move to you, man. Criteria. We love TV. We've talked about it plenty.
Criteria. I'll be short with criteria, and we can get into this. Here's the thing. When I think of the show, am I thinking about one individual, or I'm thinking of a group of individuals? Like if the show is based on something, am I really just thinking about that one character or a group? The second thing is, what did they do outside of the television show as far as actors go? Is there anything else that they may have done? What makes the cast so well? So I kind of looking at the characters, kind of looking at the people who played them. And I'm going to get started, man. And I'm going to go with one. It might be a little bit of shocker for anybody that has listened to the show, maybe. But I'm going with one that happened in 1989. It aired for 4 years. It was my show after school. It happened before school sometimes. I'm going with Saved by the Bell. And look, you look at all of them. AC Slater went on to have an extra and fantastic career with that. Telecommunications and all the commercials and all that stuff they was doing. But listen, my first crush was all 3 of those girls. All 3 of them.
Absolutely.
Lark Voorhees, which was Lisa, or Tiffany Amber Thiessen, who went on to do another show that might make it in the Benjamin somewhere, or in the list. But and then obviously Miss Showgirl herself. But you can't let out the fact that Zach, right? Zach goes on and has a pretty awesome career with television recently, and then none other than Screech, which R.I.P. Screech.
Dustin Diamond, man, come on.
Yeah.
Diamond. But Dustin really didn't do anything else outside of it. He was kind of a Pee Wee Herman like guy, had very little, speaking of R.I.P., but he did a lot of like reality TV, like a lot of different things here and there. But man, Saved by the Bell, one of my favorite shows all time. Mentioned it before. This is the one mention I think I've mentioned before. This is why I was like, I don't think all of them, but there you go, man. Saved by the Bell. I'm going with that cast, and Mr. Belding. I mean, we could keep going with a bunch of the people in the cast, but
yeah, absolutely.
Stack Attack, man. That's good. That is I'm only surprised that it's a Rosie. Because this or at least you're Rosie. I mean, in
that's where I'm saying might be surprised. It might not be higher because I've mentioned it before, but yeah, I'm
not surprised it's on the list, because this is, when you think of cast as a whole, absolutely, this is it's packed. So this is a great. This is a very, very good pick.
All right, well, man, that's a good choice. And since we started this timer a little late, we'll just reset it and keep on moving, because I like to cheat sometimes. And what is your criteria today? Where are you going? And let's get started with your pick.
Yeah, criteria. I mean, pretty much everything that you have said, Kirk. One thing that I thought about is like, it's hard for me to pick my favorite character. You know what I mean? Like, if there's that many just great characters on there, whether it's because of the actor or just the character itself, then obviously it had to be a show that I watched, that when it was on, it had to be one of those things. And I didn't mean to do this, but if you guys know me, I mean, this is not a shocker. All of mine are comedy. I didn't mean, like, that wasn't a criteria that it had to be that. But as I'm scrolling through these shows and thinking about this, they just wound up all being there. And I think that we have good casts in comedy. So some of mine actually might be a little surprising. So I've mentioned some of them before, so I didn't do that. I thought about maybe trying to just pick a brand new 4, but some of these I just couldn't get past. So I'm going to start with my Rosie, my number 4, and I'm going to actually go with a live TV show that I grew up watching with my family, predominantly my dad, because my mom wasn't into this kind of stuff. But this cast is hilarious, and I'm going with Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh!
Now, here's the thing about this show. So you've got your normals, Drew Carey is the host, but you've got Ryan Stiles, you've got Colin Mockery, you've got Wayne Brady, but then you always got these kind of other people that are coming in, Brad Sherwood, Greg Proops. You've got just these amazing comedians, and it's all about improv. If you haven't seen the show, you just were born. I don't know. Like, this is just a staple back in the day. It's actually originated from a British comedy one, which, they aired those sometimes, not nearly as funny. I'm talking about Drew Carey's one. All of the different skits they would do, thinking on the spot. My favorite out of that whole show was Ryan Stiles. I don't know why. He just was great. Wayne Brady is a classic. Right? He's obviously gone on to be massive and huge in the entertainment industry. Most of these other guys, Drew Carey's big with doing The Price is Right now, and a lot of different shows, the Drew Carey Show, other things that kind of came after that. But this show is just pure entertainment, man. It's what it's all about. It's constant laughter from the beginning to the end. And you know what? The points don't matter. As a youth pastor, I totally have taken on that mantra of, you get 1 billion points for this. It doesn't matter, whatever. So
that's a great pick. And, so with Paul, the guest who's on a lot,
yes,
I used to watch that show with his family all of the time. Great pick, dude.
So if you guys remember, if we go back to competition television, or we go back to reality television, or we go back to many of the other episodes that we had in October of last year, I tried to find a way to put this show in there, and I believe I didn't think about it today. I don't even have it on my Benjamins. This is a great little spin. Good set of cast. You know, Cleveland rocks, man, dude. Drew Carey's fantastic. Wayne Brady's fantastic. But I'm going to tell you, my favorite is just watching the interactions, right, and how close they get. I mean, this is like TikTok before TikTok.
Yeah.
It's gut wrenching sometimes. It's so funny. But great pick, man. We're at the end of our very first part of the mountain, Dave, and it is time to move to our second part, which is TJ Jazzy Jeff. If you've been around long enough, that's Thomas Jefferson. It's your turn. We don't have to do criteria this time, so we will just jump right on in, and you can tell us your next one and go.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same with the first one. Don't want to go into the criteria thing, but it meant something to me. It taught me lessons in life. And I'm just going to jump straight into it. My Jazzy Jeff is going to be Full House.
Yes!
Full House, man. And that one taught me so much growing up watching that TV show. It was such a great show. So many good, moral points that Bob Saget, Danny Tanner would give to his kids. And it was just one of those shows is really like eye-opening to see something like that unfold on television, especially as a kid.
Hey, man, I'm just going to say this, throw this out there. This was jockeying for position at number 4 with Saved by the Bell. And I moved this one down just a hair to my number 5 slot. This is my number 1 Benjamin that's coming off the board. But great pick, John Stamos.
Saget.
And now listen, you mentioned Saget giving wholesome talk. Yeah, on this show. Don't ever go watch him on anything.
R.I.P. to Bob Saget.
Yeah, another R.I.P., man. Another R.I.P. But man,
dude, David Coulier, like, dude, the cast is fantastic. Cut it out.
Cut it out. Get out of here.
Like, this is he was specific. I know we're talking cast, but if I'm going to pick, like, obviously everyone loves John Stamos, Uncle Jesse, like he's the cool rockin' uncle. I was all about Joey. Joey is just comedy. He's just the fun uncle. He is just, that's just what he does, like puppets and like ventriloquist, like that. I mean, how cool is that? You want to have a fun uncle like Uncle Joey. And it's a great concept. I will say this though, Fuller House.
Yeah, not a fan.
Get out of here. And I think maybe it's because we have so much tied to Full House, nostalgic wise. But all right, great pick, David. Full House, obviously, like we knew that one had to be here somewhere. So we've got some big rocks out of the way. Saved by the Bell, Full House. Let's see, Kirk, where are you going to go for your TJ Jazzy Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going to go to probably a lot of the lists that I pulled up, because we always do our research. We always pull up what the mass amount of people say. I usually AI it and get some information, see what they think. And just to kind of jog the memory, and then I make my list. This one was on every list, and this one's probably the king of syndication. And I this is the one that I thought of immediately. I have it here at this spot, just giving it some love. But I'm going with Seinfeld. Man, Jerry Seinfeld, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Costanza, Kramer. What a great cast. And look, we're talking about cast as far as the show goes, how well they all work together. What I love about Seinfeld is it's a show that you can pick up and watch anywhere. You don't have to know what's going on. You can watch episode for episode. That's why it was such a great syndicated show. But all of these folks had great careers. And Jerry Seinfeld, I'm going to be honest, is probably one of the most underrated comedians in my opinion. He's just funny, man. He did the drinking coffee in cars with celebrities or whatever. That's pretty cool to kind of watch that on streaming. But I think really the only one that really hasn't had a big career past it is Kramer, and it's just because that was his whole character. But everybody else, man, has really done well outside of this. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is in my favorite movie, Christmas movie of all time, and I love that. Christmas Vacation, and that is some of the best scenes. But hey, I'm gonna go with Seinfeld.
I will tell you right now, this is the first disagreement, and again, it's personal. I just can't get into Seinfeld. I've watched episode here and there. I understand that it's like probably going to be number one. It's definitely top 3 in most lists when you're going to type TV shows in. I don't know. There's just something that disconnects for me, and I'm not a big fan of it. So
I actually didn't get Seinfeld until like 3 years ago. Like as an adult, I started watching it. And I was like, okay, I get it. And then now I'm a big fan. My dad was a huge fan in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. But
and I wasn't a real big fan of it when it first came out, but I did love the syndication after late night TV. Throw on an episode or two before you go to bed, and I love it.
Well, the one thing I will say is, again, this isn't about theme songs, but that is an iconic, like the slap bass and everything. Gotta love it. So
I don't love the fact that I didn't hit the timer again, but hey, my time is up, and it's to you, Andy. Yeah. Andy, so we're moving right along. Finish up the first half of the mountain today. So where are you going?
Yeah, so back to, again, on the comedy train, David, similar to yours, like childhood, what did I sit down and watch? What shaped a lot of, obviously, if it's being comedy, what shaped a lot of my sense of humor? And not many shows were as influential in that aspect as this one. I'm going to go with another just star-studded cast here. I'm going with All That.
Oh, wow.
All That from Nickelodeon. I have to fit in some Nickelodeon here. Here we go. Let me give you a list. Now, All That continued for years. I'm talking about the 90s, those first casts. Lori Beth Denberg, Kel Mitchell, Kenan Thompson, Josh Server, Amanda Bynes, Danny Tamborelli. Nick Cannon was even on that thing. Angelique Bates. This was just a great show, because here's the thing. Adults had SNL. Adults had at the time, had SNL, had In Living Color, had, all of these skit shows that happened, to see kid actors doing this. And you felt like, wow, I could do this, right? Like I could be a part of that. Obviously, I don't need to continue to tell you how much Nickelodeon shaped me as a child. It was leaps and bounds above any Cartoon Network or any Fox, all that. Nickelodeon, give me the slime, give me all that. But this show was fantastic. I remember, and then you get the little cameos, man. You get Chris Farley gets on there as the ketchup chef.
Ketchup! Chocolate! Ketchup! Chocolate! Ketchup! Chocolate! Ketchup! Chocolate!
So many iconic characters that are portrayed through all of these things. I will tell you, Kenan Thompson might be my favorite on that show. The Pierre escargot that he would do in the like in the bathtub, like just anyway. All that, I could talk about it forever, but
I'll jump in here. I've never seen an episode in my life, to be honest. And
really?
I didn't understand. Listen, I didn't understand the big deal about Kel and Kenan. I never got it until Kel was a pastor and Kenan was at SNL. Yeah. Like, I mean, like the Good Burger, I wasn't interested in that. We've talked about that in the past. It was kind of like one of those irritating shows, but all that, I never watched it. I was probably, when this came out, in a different, I'm 10 years older than you guys. So I would have been in that spot where this wasn't something I was interested in. I was probably watching SNL a little bit, but not even doing that on a Saturday. But yeah, it's just not something I ever really watched. And when you said all that, I was like, is that the Keenan and Kel show? Is that the yeah?
And
in my
they had
head,
their own show too. That was a
right. And then I went and saw that. So I'm like looking it up, and I'm like, but you didn't say Keenan and Kel as cast members very first one. You said somebody else, and I was like, oh, it's not them. Oh, it is
Beth Denberg, Kelly Bondoon. Anyway,
Lori Beth Denberg, man.
Beth Denberg is fantastic. All right, Dave, we got no time, but do you have any comments to add about this one?
Other than Lori Beth Denberg was fantastic, and she actually did a cameo on a show called Workaholics, and it was
She did.
it was fantastic.
Yeah. All right, man. So, hey, we've made it halfway through the mountain. We have made it to the midway point, which means it is time, as every good TV show has, it's time for a commercial break. So let's go ahead and take our quick commercial break, and we'll see you guys on the flippity flop.
One hot and ready pizza, $5.
Get a hot and ready pepperoni pizza for $5 or a deep, deep dish rate only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
Hi.
Hi.
I was marooned on an island for 5 years with this package, and I swore that I would deliver it to you because I work for FedEx.
That's very admirable. Thank you.
Hey, but by the way, what's in the package?
Nothing really. Just a satellite phone, GPS locator, fishing rod, water purifier, and some seeds. Just silly stuff. Thank you again. You keep up the good work.
All right, welcome back to the Rushmore Show. What a fun commercial break that was. But hey, like any good TV show, we're back from commercials. And with us being back, man, Summit Squad, we're so grateful that you're here with us, that you're sticking through. We want to tell you about, we've been telling you about our good friends from the Culture Box, but hey, we've kind of roped it back around. Kirk, who are we highlighting today from Culture Box?
With any other good TV show, we have to pay the bills. And let's get a word from our sponsor, Geek Devotions. Geek Devotions is a collaboration of devoted geeks that are devoted to letting you know that you are loved. They produce a weekly geek culture-infused devotional, their podcast, Com Talk, and written articles, all designed to encourage and challenge people in the geek community, bridging the gap between their faith and their geekdoms. Find all their content at geekdevotions.com. That's GeekDevotions.com.
Geek Devotions, man, good friends. We love Dallas. We love Celeste. Thank you guys for being big supporters of the show and just good friends. So definitely go check them out. So, hey, we have now made it halfway through, which means we're coming up on what we like to call Link. And if you guys hung out with us this weekend at Family Collectors Con, you got to see me dressed up as Link. So let's move on. Not Link like Paul did, dressing up like actually Abraham Lincoln. So, hey, let's get into our pick. David, we're back to you.
So for this one was a big one for me, all the way into my teen years. And it is going to be the first Rushmore of the show, and that's going to be Saved by the Bell. But specifically, not specifically, but I can tell you this because this is going to be a hot take on the show. My favorite Saved by the Bell is College Years.
Yeah, I knew you were. When you said it was hot take, you had to go college.
Yeah, dude. And it was only one season, but it was a fantastic one season.
If you were a tremendous fan of the show, college years were a bit different. So that there is polarizing. So, hey, we've already talked at length about this, but man, I think it's a great pick. I was wondering if you were going there, if you were going with one of Andy's, but man, I totally am down with it.
You know, there was a lot of movies that were like the high school movies and that, but now we have a series. And again, going back to what I said in the beginning, you could connect emotionally more to these characters than you could on. And I love Ferris Bueller, right? But it was just a movie, right? And it was over when it was over.
This kind of came out when I was transitioning out of watching cartoons every episode, I mean, like for every programming thing. And this was kind of that first live drama that was kind of geared towards us that I started to watch. And I loved it, man. We'll save a little time here since it is it's a Crushmore. Well, I'll get started with my link, and I am going to go with a show that was kind of in that same time frame. It's just as good in my opinion. It's not as wholesome as probably some of the shows we've already been talking about, but I'm going to go with Married with Children. For multiple reasons. Ed Bundy takes the cake. He's probably in my opinion, one of the best television characters ever. What I love about this show is it is the antithesis of what you want as a family. Like, you're always looking at these family. This is kind of making fun of families. And you had the Cosby shows kind of going. You had kind of like those kind of type of television. And then this one comes in and just kind of slams the door. I love the cast. Christina Applegate. Ed Bundy, dude. What a great character that is. And then what's her name? The wife. She goes on to Sons of Anarchy, bro. That was a great show. And I just love the whole cast, even the neighbors, everything that has to do with the whole show. It's funny. Shoe salesman, old football player. But, man, just seeing the ups and downs of this, this is kind of that crass, cringy television show that I watched probably back then that I probably shouldn't have been. But, Married with Children.
That narrowly made my Rosie. It was right there. It was going to be, and I didn't put it on there.
That's a good pick, man. Primetime 90s. It fits perfectly in that era. There was a couple other shows around that time. I will say the reason it doesn't make mine is for what you said, it being not as wholesome because of my age at the time and parental involvement. It was a show that was kind of frowned upon, although it's funny because my dad would sneak and let me watch Beavis and Butthead and South Park with him.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like My Office from back in the day.
Right, exactly. No, I get it totally. Is a great pick. He's a fantastic, horrible
David Faustino, which was Bud. Dude, he's hilarious, bro. And I mean, it's what it is. Yep. I'm going with Married with Children. I love this show. I remember watching this, like, not missing an episode for several seasons. So where are you going, man?
Great pick.
All right, so very, very similar to one of my previous picks is this one. And what's interesting about this show, if I'm going to say like the show in general, it's lasted for a very long time, but I'm going to pick a specific time frame as far as what cast was there. I'm picking Saturday Night Live, but specifically the late 2000s, 2008 to 2010, 11-ish or so. Let me tell you, every person, they have their own, like your diehard people are going to be all about the Chevy Chases and the Dan Aykroyds and those stuff. Then you've got your 90s people, which I love. Your Chris Farley, your Adam Sandlers, that whole crew. But I'm in college at this time, right? I'm in 2009, 2010. I'm in college. I remember living right next door to Brett Charlet, and we lived kind of in the same apartments, and we would literally stay up late and watch the Saturday Night Lives during this time. Let me tell you the cast. Fred Armisen, Will Forte, Bill Hader, Seth Meyers, Andy Samberg, Jason Sudeikis, Kenan Thompson, again, Kristen Wiig.
Was still on it.
Bobby Moynihan. Dude, this cast was fantastic. I personally don't feel like it gets better than that for me. Again, I know that's probably a hot take with a lot of the 90s fans. I totally agree. That's a great casting crew. But to me, that 2009, 2010 time frame for Saturday Night Live, Nasim Pedrad was on there. This was just a really, really good cast. And interesting that Kenan Thompson is actually the longest tenured member of Saturday Night Live in show history. 21 seasons. this guy has been on SNL. I mean, it's insane, right? You know, so this guy and still on it, still one of the predominant members of that show. My favorite, I love Fred Armisen. I love Bill Hader. You can't go wrong with those guys. So,
the shorts, man. The shorts that Andy Samberg did.
Samberg, Lonely Island, man. I mean, everything that came out of that, dude, so good. So good.
So
I got to go there.
I hearing your picks so far. So you went with 3 almost very similar shows.
Yes.
And after you picked the first one, I kind of thought, hey, maybe he might go SNL. Then when you went the second one, I said, if he doesn't pick SNL, I'll be shocked. But then you pick SNL, and I am shocked because you picked the one of the not 3 eras that I thought you might pick. I'm going to tell you this. It is kind of cheating because of such a big cast. I mean, like, the cast is humongous, and it's stellar. I would lean towards what you said, the Aykroyds and the Martins and the Eddie Murphy, only because of what they've done in the future in my lifetime. But I didn't watch the show. We talked about it on skits and all of that. I've seen the show. I've seen parts of the show. I've seen like clips, but to actually watch it as a part of my daily programming was not something. So this is one reason I didn't put it on.
I like this pick.
Go ahead.
I like this pick because I was there for quite a few Saturdays at that apartment, you know, watching SNL. So I love the pick because it does have memories attached to it.
Yeah, well, and then here's the thing too. The last thing I'll say, and then we'll go to George. I love the '90s stuff, but I watched it after. You know what I mean? Like, I so appreciate it. Again, I'm never going to knock Sandler, Farley, Michael Myers, Dana Carvey, that whole crew that was the '90s. I love it. But
I mean, your favorite movie is Wayne's World. So, I mean,
exactly, right? So, but I was watching SNL live during this time, and I think that's what puts it over the top for me. So that's my pick. Insane cast. You could throw any era of SNL.
Now I'm shocked. Now I'm interested. I'm intrigued the direction you go for your George. If you are just if you're throwing us a ball and you're going back to where we think you're going.
Well, we'll see. But before we get to my George,
hey, so it's George. It's time for the George. And by the way, I had a great time dressed up as George this weekend as your number 1 president. No, I didn't shave the beard. George is going to be rocking a beard, and when you see him in the pictures. So here's the deal. It's time for our George, and Dave, you're up, man.
I think I know this one. I think I know where you're going. I want to hear you say it, though.
So this is, for me, the most vivid that I can remember, 5 or 6 years old, where I connected with a cast and fell in love, my first crush on a television show. And I'm going to go with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was for me as a kid, 5 or 6, like I said, 92, 93, in that area, where I cared about the show, where if something happened, I was like, no, like I was connected to, you know, the characters and the cast, and like loved everybody, hated some, you know, and it was just the just having that moment, that connection with the television show, my first one ever. And that it holds a huge place in my heart. Obviously, I have it on my arm right here, the White Ranger. And I mean, it's just for me, nothing compares. It's my favorite thing of all things. Anytime you bring up television, TV, toys, video games, it's always going to be in my top somewhere. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is just top, period.
Yeah. So if we were to invite you on for like favorite linebackers of all time, you would somehow try to fit in Power Rangers, right?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna find some type of cameo or something that happened on the Power Rangers.
Dude, I knew it. I knew this is where you're going. You've always been a Ranger.
So I find it interesting that you picked it for cast, though, and I'm not knocking Power Rangers. Power Rangers is it's a life of its own. It's something that I never understood how it got so big, and until much later in my life. And when I was going through, I was like, gosh, this is so cheesy. It's such a ripoff. It's such this. It's such. But what I would say is, I found their cast to be okay, and as far as the cast goes, even the characters. But I didn't watch the show, so I never connected with any of them. I had the action figures that first time. It was great to meet Austin St. John over at St. Tammany last year, and to meet Zordon this year. But man, that's just a cool thing. But
and look, don't get me wrong. It watching it as an adult, it's like, yeah, it's pretty rough. But I'm watching it through the kid's eye.
Now let me ask you this: do you watch it with your son?
I do.
Does he watch?
He watches the action sequences.
My son went through quite a few different time frames where he was like hooked. He watched every episode of each one or whatever. He's seen nearly all of them. I mean, it's crazy.
There's so many, like Dragon Force and all this stuff that they had.
Right. Let me just say this. I totally agree with this pick because the cast is great, dude. Amy Jo Johnson, Jason David Frank, Austin St. John, Walter Jones, dude. My favorite Ranger, Zach Taylor, bro. Give me the Black Ranger, the Mastodon.
Dude.
Absolutely. I'm taking him every time. Every time I play the video game, I'm the Black Ranger, bro. I don't even care. He's got the coolest thing. So
the Mastodon was the coolest, first of all. Let me jump into mine. Mine is not going to be a shock, but I haven't mentioned this before. I have not mentioned this before, but I have actually used this show for our year anniversary show. It's our intro, and I'm going with Cheers. And when I think of casts, man, Tony Danza, Woody Harrelson, Shelley Long, I mean, Ray Perlman went. I mean, like you talk about SNL and all that stuff, but the Bears and all that stuff, bro. I mean, like this whole cast is amazing. Oh, and Mr. Pixar is in there. I think it's recently that what's his Ratzerman or Kratzer, whatever his name is, first Pixar movie he's never been in, was just recently. But when you think of 80s television show and casts, just casts in general, and where they went and moved on to become who they were, and they all had successful careers, whether it's CSI or Hunger Games, White Men Can't Jump, and Popeye. Oh, I mean, I was looking at the list of all the things that came out of this show from all those different people. And it's just a fantastic thing. I know it's pre you guys. It's actually kind of even pre me, because it was early 80s to the early 90s. So, I mean, I really didn't watch it tremendously, but it was always on in the background. It's one of the best 80s shows. I'm going with Cheers.
Yeah, sometimes you want to go where everyone knows your name. That's what you want to do. This is a great pick. I will say, going back 2 weeks ago, we are a big fan of the Goldbergs. Remember the episode where they had all of the members of Cheers on?
Dude, that was awesome.
As a cameo.
I dug it.
They came in, they did the whole Norm, they did the whole thing. And this is a good pick. I think I watched this on like Nick at Night maybe, or like some kind of reruns, like when that would be on there. There was something.
I know when Netflix kind of first came out, it was one of the first shows that they brought out, and they had like the whole thing. I started watching it again, and it's still a great show, but the whole show is basically in the bar, and it's just great.
So I'm pulling up a cast, and Kelsey Grammer is on here as Frasier. Is Frasier a spinoff?
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
All right, man. So Andy, bring us home, buddy.
My George. My number one. It was no question. This is the cast of all casts for me. It's no surprise to anyone. I'm gonna go Parks and Recreation. Let me give you the cast. Without sounding like a broken record, I mention this show all the time. Amy Poehler, Aziz Ansari, Nick Offerman, Aubrey Plaza, Chris Pratt, Adam Scott, Rob Lowe, Rashida Jones. I mean, bro, like if we want to talk big names,
I am. I'm applauding the Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman, it might be one of my favorites of all time. This dude is so good. Ron Swanson, you've got Leslie Knope, Tom Haverford, April Ludgate, Andy Dwyer, Ben Wyatt, Chris Traeger, Ann Perkins. You got Jim O'Hare with Jerry, Gary, Larry, Barry, Gergich, whatever part of the show you're in. Yeah, and then you've got all of the cameos, or like the Fonz is in the show, man. Like so many different Henry Winkler, so many different cast members throughout this entire show. And I just mentioned the main characters, right? So this show is the best show, my favorite show. I'll watch it another 1,000 times and not get tired of it. I've got to go with the cast of Parks and Recreation.
So I knew you were going here until I didn't know you were going here, and then I knew you were going here again when you said it. I mean, it's like if he doesn't say Parks and Rec or The Office or both, I'm boycotting, right? But I thought about Goldbergs. I thought about a couple of those, but in reality, this is your jam. I mean, I come over to your house, it's on, or the other one's on, or sports is on. I mean, that's the only thing it's ever on. Or now Daphne's shows with the whatever. But that's it. I'll go back. Amy Poehler, I'm not a fan. I'm just not. I like the show, but it's one of the things that kind of keeps me not staying. Chris Pratt, I love his character, and Nick Offerman is. I mean, he's my role model. I mean, like literally, I want to be like that guy. Again, I said Richard Karn earlier. It's kind of the precursor, but they're very similar type characters. And what I love a lot about Nick Offerman is all the stuff he does outside, like his woodworking and everything else. I follow him. I follow his social medias. And so I just had a brain thought ending this show here, right? Andy, I think this year I should watch Parks and Rec.
Please do. Yes.
And finish it finally, because I'm in season 2. And I'm going to have to find another sitcom that I think you need to watch that you haven't seen that I've watched. So I'll work on that. And then next year we'll have another Versus. So there you go. Dave.
Yeah.
We didn't really give you a whole lot of time on that, but Parks and Rec?
I'm going to be honest. I've only seen maybe season 1. So I'm not well versed in Parks and Rec. I know it's hilarious. I just never got around to.
Yeah, I've seen into the middle of season 2, but I know it gets better.
I've said this so many times. They have the best final season of any show that I've watched. You know how a lot of times you watch a show in the final season, it feels like they just wrote it in and whatever, let's figure out how to close this thing. They're the best finale, the best final season. They tie everything together in such a perfect way that you're like, I'm content with how this ended. Like I've never felt that way. So
you don't get that a lot from shows, from TV shows.
You get really polarizing ones. You get really like people hate
Amy polarizing.
Amy polarizing is very polarizing in this group. I love Amy Poehler, but But anyway, so man, that's our Rushmore, man. We've gone through our favorite TV casts so far, but luckily for the Summit Squad, you've been asking. You said, I just want more. Well, guess what? We have more because we have our top 4 and a little bit more. Let's get into our Benjamins. All right, guys, we are back for our Benjamins. You know what that means. This is a brand new 4 from each one of us. No Crushmores allowed. We're going to go snake draft style, and we're going to start with David. David, what just barely missed your mountain?
What barely missed my mountain, and actually it's crossed off my list, and Home Improvement took its spot, and that's going to be Mama's Family.
And that was what a call! What a call, dude! One of my favorite shows to watch with my parents, man.
Yep.
Dude, I love that. Good pick.
With my grandma.
Great pick, man. That's a shocker. All right. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to take one and crossing. I'm going to go with none other than DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
That time we mentioned him, so that's a good pick. All right, I get 2 back-to-back. I'm going to pick my first one. I'm going to go with How I Met Your Mother. How I Met Your Mother, good cast, good cast.
Good one.
Love Jason Segel, so that's a good one. And then for my next one, I'm surprised this hasn't gone anywhere yet. Give me Boy Meets World. Give me Boy Meets World. This is a great pick. This has got to be picked.
I didn't know that
from your pool there, David. I'm sorry.
Look, I didn't know David was the Power Ranger guy. I thought that's what you were calling him to say for the last one.
Yeah.
And then he was like my favorite crush, and I'm like, oh yeah, here we go.
Topanga.
Topanga. All right.
Oh,
so look,
back to you.
My turn, and this is a shout out to my wife and my daughter because it is a fantastic cast. I don't watch this show that often, but it's awesome. Grey's Anatomy.
Good one. All right, David, you get 2 back-to-back picks here. 2 more.
Okay, I'm gonna go with. Let's see here. I'm gonna go with. So, touching on what you touched on earlier, I'm gonna go with the cast of SNL with Adam Sandler.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Mike Myers. That cast. Chris Farley, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And my second is a show I still watch right now today. When I go to sleep, it's the show I put on, and that's King of Queens.
Oh, love that show.
It is my favorite, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Dude,
all the memes are very relevant right now. All those memes of him for whatever just started.
And every time I see that, I'm like, y'all been sleeping on King of Queens for years.
Games in general, these are great. Yeah. So, all right, let's come back to you. What you got?
One of my number one shows. Say it all the time. I got to have it in TV. I'm going with The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yo.
Okay. All right. I get my last 2, which I'm surprised none of mine have gotten picked. I get a full, literally, I haven't had to cross anything off.
You're probably about to pick one of mine.
This cast is, again, to your Married with Children extent, not very family friendly, but you can't deny how good this cast is. I'm going with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yo.
Always Sunny.
Wow. I have seen 30 seconds of an episode, literally.
It's tough to watch. But see,
I didn't watch a whole lot of Comedy Central, and that's where a lot of that was at.
I think this was like FX or something. I don't even know.
Was it FX? I know it was like late night on something.
All right, so my last pick, I'll just take it. We'll take the low-hanging fruit. We talked about this month, The Office. The Office is just a great cast. Everybody who's in that show is fantastic. It's hard to pick a favorite character. We talked about it 2 weeks ago, but that's my last pick, The Office.
You said low-hanging fruit. I want to grab it, but I also want to give a nod to our second or third episode ever.
Oh, do it.
I got to go with the Golden Girls and Kyle, bro. I got to come out with old Golden Girls. Betty White, baby. Betty White.
That's a great pick.
Instead of the gold, I go with the Golden Girls. How about that?
All right, David. So this is Mr. Irrelevant. This is the final pick. You have every other TV show in history. What is going to be your last pick for your TV cast?
So, kind of with the same theme, man. I guess I'm just an old soul, but All in the Family. That was a huge one for me.
Yeah. I put that in the intro last week. Those were the days. Yeah. Anyways, man, those were the days. What a great episode. Let me just throw this out there. One of the greatest casts of all time wasn't mentioned today because none of us care about the show and its Friends. And I'm going to just throw that out there. I know you all are going to put that down in the bottom. I
don't have
never watched it, and I don't care. It has a bunch of girls that I liked back in the day, though. But anyways, let's keep going along. And
I liked what they did after Friends, their acting careers.
Yeah, that's Friends. Yeah, like Leprechaun and So, guys, the show is over. David, thanks for joining us. You're welcome back anytime. Hey, guys, Finn the Collector. If you go to the cons around the St. Tammany area, South Louisiana, check him out. Follow him. Man, maybe you got something that you want to get him picked up for, man. So maybe you want to, and then take to 64. I don't know. But, man, thank you for being here. We've got a couple more shows left. We have What we're thinking is a spooky television episode coming with Nerd Squish and Fave 5 from fans. And because we need one other guest, we're thinking maybe we're going to do a top 4 villains in history for television. And one of those same groups will jump off and be a part of that. Stay tuned to see how that goes. We are ending October, moving into November, which is food. December, we're going to finish out the year, our second year. Episode 100 is around the corner. And then we have some programming things. Be on the lookout. We got some programming things that we think we may be switching coming in the new year. New babies, new jobs, new things, schools. We want to make sure we give you the best programming and make sure it's right. Be on the lookout. Oh, and don't miss all the shorts that we have coming out from both Louisiana RetroCon and St. Tammany Collectors Con. Stay tuned for that. Share, like, subscribe. Andy.
David, again, thanks for coming on, man. We would super appreciate you. Glad to finally have you on the show.
Pleasure, man. Blast.
Summit Squad, man, let us know. Where did we mess up in the comments? Talk to us. Subscribe. Share it with your friends. Tell us all about how you hate our lists or how you love them. Share some stories about why you love them. I think that's the comments that I enjoy the most. Is get a little.
Why? Why?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I think it's time to say goodnight to our friends. I think so, right? Let's say goodnight, or now it's actually morning when this is coming out, unless you're watching it later, but you get the point. Let's say goodbye to our friends like we always do. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4
and nothing more.
Peace!